So Dragon Age the Veilguard is starting to go into the hands of certain YouTubers and streamers that have been able to get their hands on the game for about 6 to 7 hours of gameplay. This is an early review copy or an early look copy, and people are getting their hands on it and they are having their opinions. There is a lot of not so good opinions, shockingly, about Dragon Age the Veilguard. I honestly thought that these opinions would be a lot more protected, considering that, usually developers try to go to streamers that want to give them nothing but good press and good images in terms of their game. Now, apparently, Dragon Age the Veilguard is being described as a thin coat of paint and borderline soft reboot of the entire franchise.
Excuse me. I believe I asked you to put a chick in this and make her gay.
Now, don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I think anybody can look at the trailers and look at the gameplay to understand that this is, in fact, a soft reboot of the franchise, which is so weird to me because they're saying that this is supposed to be the last Dragon Age game. This is supposed to be, the final story in the overall arc between Dragon Age Origins all the way to Dragon Age 4. So I just think it's very, very strange that you're choosing to reboot the franchise now with this particular game if this is supposed to be the last one. Obviously, I don't believe that this is going to be the last one personally. I think they're just saying that to try to bolster sales as much as they possibly can, and then they're going to come out with another one, maybe 10 years from now. Who really knows? So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says YouTuber Neon Knight, who claims to have played over 7 hours of Dragon Age the Veilguard, has described the game as a thin coat of paint. In a recent upload to YouTube, Neon Knight said, "So with Dragon Age the Veilguard, there's been a lot of attempts, in my opinion, to convince the general public that this game is something that it really isn't, to convince you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears, what you've been seeing in trailers and previews, and believe that the Dragon Age DNA in Veilguard, specifically its gameplay, is anything more than a very thin coat of paint." Now, I've been saying this for a while now, that just by looking at the gameplay and looking at the trailer, you can tell that this is something that's trying to be what it used to be, but it's not, right? You can tell that this is trying to be, at the very, very bare minimum, a semi-passing Dragon Age game. But when you look with your eyes and you listen with your ears, like Neon Knight said, you're going to realize that this is not exactly a Dragon Age game, right? And if it is a rebooted modern audience version of what Dragon Age used to be. Now, to be fair, Dragon Age has always changed a little bit throughout every single iteration. Now, the biggest change would probably be from Origins to 2, right? Origins to Dragon Age 2 was a massive difference in overall gameplay feel and just, what they were trying to do with the game. The look was pretty much there, right? It looked like a Dragon Age game. It had all the hallmarks of a Dragon Age game. The Kunari looked like Kunaris, right? Instead of the fucking TikTok version of Kunaris that we have in Veilguard. But then, from 2 to Inquisition wasn't really that drastic of a change. Obviously, the graphics got better. The character models changed slightly, but it really wasn't that drastic like it was with Origins and Dragon Age 2. This game is repeating what happened with Origins and 2, where you're going to go from Inquisition to Veilguard, and it is such a drastic difference. It is ridiculous. And then they try to lie you and tell you, no, it's not, it's a Dragon Age game. Trust us. We totally would have. No, you can see very clearly that this is a totally different fucking game. He continued, as someone who has played the game for about 7 hours a few weeks ago, well, I guess my thesis statement here that it isn't. A thin coat of paint is more or less exactly what Veilguard has to offer longtime fans, and serious level-headed discussion about the game is completely hampered by what seems to be an almost universal refusal to just say that out loud. Listen, there is no way that, I don't care how much of a show you are, and I know there's a lot of shows out there, but there's no way that you can shill for Dragon Age the Veilguard and try to sit there and admit to yourself that this is the same kind of Dragon Age game as what you had prior. The biggest evidence of this is whatever the fuck this creature is on the screen, right? This creature, this goat-looking creature that's trying to pass itself off as a Kunari. This thing, if this is a Kunari, this is not Dragon Age anymore, okay? I just want to be very clear with you guys. This is not Dragon Age anymore if this is the Kunari. Like, what is this thing? I don't even know. From there, he shared that the game will be compared to God of War 2018. He said that the game's combat and exploration is full-blown, or at least 85% God of War 2018 warship. This new Dragon Age is all about the action, building up a rage meter to release an ultimate, getting your perfect parries in, shield throws, talismans that activate special abilities, plenty of pots to break and chests to open. You get it. Point is, somebody really liked God of War 2018 and said, why don't we just do that and be done with it? So that would be extremely, like, I'm not going to say it's bad, right? Because the gameplay loop in God of War is pretty good. I'm not going to say that's bad. But what I'm going to say is that's not Dragon Age, right? That's not exactly Dragon Age. Dragon Age should be a lot more in-depth than that. Dragon Age should have a more complex combat system than that. Dragon Age should be a lot more than just a God of War 2018 reboot. And if they really went with that style of combat and exploration, that's going to suck, okay? That's going to suck. And you know what? I actually do believe it, because if you look at some of the earlier gameplay trailers, you're going to realize it looks really goddamn linear. It really does. It looks super linear. And now that I think about it, looking back, it actually does look like gameplay from God of War 2018. It really does. The same exact style of gameplay, just with a coat of paint that's trying to pass themselves off as a Dragon Age game. Wow, that actually makes a lot of sense now that I think back on it. Next, he noted that the game will also be compared to the Guardians of the Galaxy video game regarding its tone. He said that this is the point of the video where some of you recoil in horror and maybe projectile vomit, but it is also the point where at least some of you are probably thinking, hey, those are two not too bad games at all. You could do much worse in terms of comparison. And yeah, if you're thinking that, I completely agree. However, he noted that these two games are not what Dragon Age fans are expecting a Dragon Age game to be compared to. That's true. That's absolutely true. There is no denying that the Dragon Age fan base of just 6 months ago would have torn that imaginary person apart for merely suggesting such a thing. Yet ultimately, that's the type of game BioWare has made here. So again, ladies and gentlemen, let me be very clear. I don't think that BioWare of today gives a shit about what the BioWare fans of yesterday want from their Dragon Age games. That much is very clear. You can tell, even just not even like looking at the gameplay, you could tell just overall with the tone of the game, they don't care about what Dragon Age fans wanted prior. They're actively telling you to forget Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2. They only want to include specific portions that are going to push their narrative from Dragon Age Inquisition, but even that game they want you to forget. They want you to forget everything prior to what Dragon Age the Veilguard is. They want to pretend like previous BioWare didn't exist, because the core and Bush BioWare, the one where they're talking about, trans surgery scars, they want you to forget everything they came before. And they want you to think that this now is a definitive Dragon Age experience. This right here is what Dragon Age is. And if it truly is as linear as God of War 2018, that's going to be quite unfortunate for previous Dragon Age fans. But like I said in many videos prior, and I'm going to say it again in this one, Dragon Age fans are very similar to what Star Wars fans were before, where right now they're experiencing their franchise radically changing, and in a way that most people don't like, right? Most people don't like a couple of things, the aesthetic, the combat, whatever. Most people don't like it, but they're still in denial for the most part. They're still thinking, well, maybe it'll be good, right? Maybe it will be, who knows? But they're still in denial. They haven't been wronged too many times for them to say, you know what, I'm not even going to bother. Like Star Wars fans, it took a few shows. It took a few smacks in the face for them to completely check out. And then for a lot of people who are really, really stubborn, it was the Acolyte that made them fully check out and say, you know what, I'm done, right? But that took a few episodes for it to happen. This is the first game after Inquisition. It was 10 years ago, right? 10 years. That's a long time. So they're pretty stubborn. They're pretty stuck in it. And they're going to be like, well, maybe it's good. And they're not really going to be, they're pretty much in denial at that point. And they're ignoring what their eyes and their ears are telling them. So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, can Dragon Age the Veilguard be good? Absolutely. But is it going to be a good Dragon Age game? That's a whole nother conversation to have. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.